Have you ever walked into a room only to forget what you're there for? Or resorted to, hey man, when you can't remember somebody's name? Whether it's losing your keys or having the answer on the tip of your tongue, most of us accept a bad memory as the genetic ungift that keeps on giving. But it doesn't have to be that way. My next guest teaches proven tactics to help anyone remember more and, like the name of his YouTube channel, be smarter, faster. It started in the late 70s when the school he worked for issued chargebacks on his paycheck for students dropping out of his program. So to help, he created a series called What School Never Told You About Learning. His students were so successful, not only in their studies, but in their postgraduate job placements, that the companies they worked for hired him to come teach and speak to their employees. And so began his speaking and book writing career. Today, he's going to share the 3 causes of forgettery and the 2-step secret to having an amazing memory. Defying age and categories, born with a ham bone, trainer Matt DiMaio.
Well, thank you so much, Meredith. I'm so very pleased to be here with you and all of your guests.
I am so happy to have you here too, to share your wisdom, because memory isn't just a party trick. You know, it means feeling more confident. It makes the people around you feel more valued. And those are definitely 2 things everybody wants. But let's start where it all goes wrong. The 3 causes of forgettery. Who or what is the first offender, my friend?
You know, everybody wants to talk about memory, and that's why I coined the expression, the 3 causes of forgettery. Because if you understand what the problem is, you're more than halfway to solving it. And so when you understand these 3 causes of forgettery, it will triple your memory power before you use any techniques at all. So the first cause of forgettery, and you used the example earlier about, walking into a room, meeting somebody, and 5 seconds later, you can't remember their names. So the first cause of forgettery is that you don't get it. If you don't get it, you can't keep it. And to forget is to not get. Like to forego means, oh, well, I'm not going there. I'm going to forego that. I'm not going there. To forget means you don't get it. So when you're meeting somebody, sometimes the introduction will go like this. Hi, I'd like you to meet my friend, Mr. Blah, blah, blah. And you go, yeah, hi, buddy. Hi, pal. How you doing? Hey, darling. You have no idea what the name is. If you don't get it, you can't keep it. The second cause of forgettery is a little sneakier, and that is you don't care. Now, if I'm allowed to read your thoughts, some of you are going, well, but Matt, I care. Yeah, well, there's caring, and then there's caring enough to actually do something about it. So you meet somebody at a party, and sometimes your attitude is, well, they're not going to remember me either, and I'm not going to remember them, and I'm just here for the party. And maybe this sounds familiar. Your mom or your teacher would wag their finger at you and say, you can only remember what you want to remember. Guess what? They were right. It's like the guy who can quote the passing statistics of every quarterback in the NFL and yet can't remember his wedding anniversary. It's selective memory. You do better when you remember things that you want to remember. It's not that you can't do it, is you just really would rather do something else. You just don't want to do it that bad. The third cause, though, this is the big culprit. And this is what everything else hinges on, because it makes the other 2 look small by comparison. The third cause of forgettery is that you don't believe. You know what you don't believe? You don't believe you have a super powerful memory right now. You believe things, or most people believe things like, oh, I must be getting the Alzheimer's. Meantime, they're in their 40s. Or, oh, I just don't have a good memory. Or here's a common one. I can always remember a face, but I can never remember a name. Well, duh, don't be surprised when you have trouble remembering people's names. You see, saying those kinds of things to yourself is not the result of a bad memory. That's the cause. So if your expectation of yourself is I can't do it anyway, then why would you even bother to try if you already know you can't do it? So let me kind of sum up these three causes of forgetting, because I don't want people to dismiss what I've just said as just some philosophy, because this is practical stuff. If you get it, care, and believe, you'll triple your ability compared to now. For example, I'm here in Tampa, Florida. I belong to a number of professional organizations. One of them has been the Tampa Bay Business Owners, where one of their most respected professional photographers has become a friend of mine. And he would see me do demonstrations at various events, and he was always fascinated. And then I hadn't seen him for a little while. And then he came over to me and he said, Matt, I just got back into state. I was actually shooting a wedding for some really wealthy clients. This was a really high profile gig. And I got to tell you, Matt, I remembered everybody in the reception's name. And they were thrilled. I got the biggest tip ever. I got referrals to other gigs. And I said, hey, Rick, I'll bet you didn't even have to use any of the fancy techniques that I teach, did you? You just used the three causes of forgetting. He said, yeah, that's right. I just paid attention when they told me their name, and I really cared that I remembered. I put an effort into remembering them. And then I kept telling myself, I'm going to find a way to remember them. And I did it.
That's so
That's
true.
Thrilling to hear that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I told you I had the same thing when I was trying to remember I was trying to make a video, and, I don't have, what is that called? The screen where you read the words or anything like that. I just have to remember it. Teleprompter. Thank you. See, the word was escaping me, but I
got a cure for that, by the way. I'll tell you
let's just interrupt me with the cure for right now, because heaven forbid I forget to lead you into that cure. So go ahead. Tell me the cure now.
All right. So here's what happens. Now, these days I work with a lot of students all over the world through my YouTube channel. And I've been working with salespeople and business professionals literally for decades. And here's what happens when you're having a conversation and you can't remember something, or you're in the middle of a test and you got the answer on the tip of your tongue and you just can't get it to come to you. Well, have you ever noticed that later on, maybe later that night, you're getting ready for bed, you're brushing your teeth, and suddenly the answer to that trivia question about that famous 1950s comedic star pops into your head, and out of nowhere you go, Desi Arnaz. How does that happen? Well, you can make that happen deliberately and quick. So when something won't come into your mind, you need to use these magic words. I know it sounds silly, magic words, but it really is. I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment. You say to yourself, out loud under your breath, so nobody thinks you're too weird, you say, it will come to me in a moment. All right, everybody at home, repeat after me. It will come to me in a moment. And then you take a deep cleansing breath, just as if you were in yoga class, and you let it out, and you go on to what you were talking about, and don't be amazed. It'll be so shocking that in a moment, the answer will just pop into your head. And we call it that for a reason, because it's almost a physical feeling. When the idea hits you, it like pops into your head. So I've got a cute story about that. But just a moment ago, trying to think of the word teleprompter. If you're in a conversation and you're stuck for a word, say, it'll come to me in a moment. Take a deep breath, let it go. Go on with your conversation. Don't stress over it. In a moment, the word will pop right into your head. But now I interrupted your story about how you were talking about you didn't have a teleprompter on your video.
But what a great illustration. I mean, we didn't even plan that. And so that's fantastic. I'm glad that I had some forgettery that you could use as an illustration. But yes, the point about attitude, or, how you view yourself, those identity statements. I'm just forgetful. or they could be fears. You know, we have some relatives that passed away from Alzheimer's. And so, you know, it's kind of like it's coming to get you, this whole, and that's not necessarily true. But it can cause some panic. And so I love it will come to me, take a deep breath, move on. And I tested it on myself when I was trying to make a video, and I wrote out a script of what to say. And while I was driving my errands, driving around town doing my errands, I just, you know, repeated it a couple of times. And then when I went to the grocery store to film it, I remembered it, and I was so pleased with myself. And I have not even taken any of your courses, so I feel like what you have to offer is so valuable. So thank you for that. What you are sharing is 100% legit.
You know, what I teach is really nothing different than the way you normally work. I call it natural learning. I simply point out things that you already know are true and things that you're already doing now, and show you what the mechanics behind it are. So I'm not teaching you how to do new stuff, because think about it. How do you remember all the stuff you remember now? If you had to try and write down all the things that you remember, going back to your childhood, there's things that you remember from the time you were a little girl, maybe your old home phone number from when you were little. You'll remember stuff about your best friend when you were in first grade. And it's an impossible task to think about how much stuff you actually remember. Well, how does that work? How do you do that? So what I've simply done is break the process apart. I call it natural learning because I show you how our Creator designed us, how we're built. And when you understand how the mechanism works, you can make it work better. What a concept.
Imagine that. So what are your 2 steps, whenever I say 2-step, I think of dancing. What's the 2-step dance that we need to know in order to have a great memory?
Ultimately, the process comes down to 2 things. And again, this is not lightning bolt information. That's not new information. It's going to be self-evident that it's true. The first thing is that, and by the way, this is the greatest power that human beings are blessed with. And let me take a little bit of an aside. If you don't know what your greatest power as a human being is, how can you use it effectively? If you're not sure what your greatest power is, how can you effectively use it? You can't. So here's your greatest power, and the very first thing to do to have a superhuman memory. And that is the word imagination. Imagination is a lengthened form of the word image. We think in pictures. We think in images. The thing is, sometimes these images happen so fast that we don't really see them. We feel them. We know that they're there. And I'll give you a quick example. You're driving to the house of a brand new friend. You've never been to their house before. Along the way, every landmark is important. You got to remember to get off at this particular exit. And then you've got to turn left at the house with the funny fence. And then you're turning right at the corner where that's that weird big tree. Well, after you've been to that friend's house half a dozen times, you no longer have to pay attention to the exit number or where the house is or where the tree is. You see them, they're there, but it happens so instantaneously that you're blind to it. The process is that fast. It happens at the speed of thought. Simply what I do is I make the process a little bit slower so you can gain control over it. So the first thing, if you want to have superhuman memory, is you break things down into some sort of an image, some sort of a picture. I'll explain more about that in a moment. Now, when you and I were talking the other day, I mentioned about where you see the pictures in your head. Now, this is something, again, that people are going to know as soon as I say it. But if you know where you see these pictures in your head, you can make these pictures and you can see them more clearly because you know where to look. Go figure. You don't see pictures in the side of your head. You don't see pictures in the top or in the back. You see pictures in your head on the inside movie screen that's taped to the front of the inside of your forehead. Right here is where you have that internal movie screen that you can project the images that you see. You all know that that's where it is. Me telling you didn't really tell you any new information except, oh yeah, that's where I see them. Right. Well, once you know where it is, now you can project the images there more deliberately. All right. So that's the first step, is making pictures out of things. The second step is connection. You've heard people talk about association. I think that's a terrible word. If association were a good word, you'd be able to use it more effectively. But connection, I grew up with Tinker Toys. These days, kids have Legos, and you can build anything you want. You connect the yellow one with the red one, with the green one, with the blue one, and you build a thing, and now they've got whole museums. They have here somewhere, they've got Legoland. And so you can build anything out of it. You're connecting this little piece to that little piece, and that's how your mind works anyway. Those of you with small children or grandchildren know that when they're just learning to talk and they're talking to you, Mom, Grandma, Grandpa, you mean it's like, right, the word like, this is like that. They're making a connection. You can actually see the process happen. So here's the secret. You make images and you connect them together. For example, my name is Matt. Well, there's a bunch of different ways you can make images out of that. So you might know somebody with the same name, Matthew. When I was a little kid growing up, I just turned 69 in March. So I've started my 70th year. When I was a little kid growing up, one of the most popular shows on TV was Gunsmoke. And Marshal Matt Dillon was the big character. And in grade school, Matthew, when I was little, was not a popular name. It became popular later on. But, when I was a little boy in first grade, I was the only Matthew in all of first through sixth grade. And people would go, Matthew, like the character in Gunsmoke used to do. But if you take a look at what is a Matt, well, I'm always a welcome Matt. And in high school, I was a wrestling Matt. I wrestled 4 different weight classes. I've got a buddy of mine from Quebec calls me Matador. And I told him when I was single, yep, Matador's the girls and the girls adore Matt.
Oh my gosh.
So watch little kids goof on each other on the playground. Fat Matt ate a rat, then he sat on a cat. And you know that kids do this. Did somebody teach them to do it? No, we did it naturally. Now, I don't want you to get the idea that we're making fun of people or making fun of their names. We're having fun with their names. We're not making fun. So my brother's name is Mark. Matthew and Mark. All my life, people said, where's Luke and John? They made an instant connection to the Bible.
Right.
All right. If I meet another Mark, yesterday I did an interview on a podcast show, and his name is Mark. It was easy for me to remember. It's my brother's name. You put a mark on a wall. You can paint with a magic marker. There's a whole series of silly jokes. What do you call a guy stuffed in your mailbox? Bill. What do you call a guy floating in your pool? Bob. What do you call a guy in a pot on your stove? Stu. What do you call 2 guys hanging around your windows? Kurt and Rod.
Oh my gosh.
But
Ching.
I got to be careful not to knock my camera down.
Yeah, don't knock it over.
What? Anyway, so there's multiple ways to make images out of things. So on YouTube, there's a video of me at the Indo-US Chamber of Commerce, where I recall the names of a whole lot of members in the audience. And I would do public demonstrations where I'll go into an audience during cocktail hour. I'll meet them all. When they introduce me, for the business portion of the meeting, usually I do like after dinner entertainment. I will start out by saying, well, I had an opportunity to meet a lot of you before we got started here. If I met you, please stand up. And then I go around the room and I name everybody that I met. And it blows their mind. It looks like a Martian landed in their midst. Now, at the Indo-US Chamber of Commerce, nobody was named Bob and Matt and Fred. It was all these 3- and 4-syllable Indian names. And even with that, I was able to do it. So you go, but I don't know anybody else with a name like that. And that's where I teach you to make sound-alikes. And this idea of making sound-alikes can be used to learn foreign language vocabulary, scientific vocabulary, people who have names that are difficult. And so the idea of turning things into images somehow, and then connecting it to the person, or connecting it back to the name, or connecting it to what it is that you're trying to remember, is ultimately what the secret is. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than we can get into in the short conversation we're having right now. But that's why I built entire courses around this stuff. It's a lot easier than you could ever dream.
Well, I can really see how if you do the techniques without the belief part, without the correct identity statements, that it would feel futile. If you are trying techniques, but you have this undermining belief that you're just forgetful, then none of it would really work. I can really see why believing it will come to me, or I can do this, or just knowing that you have that power and you possess it would really be fundamental to having any of these techniques actually work out. And it's interesting too about memory. You've said this about learning. So you have to tell me if it's the same for memory. You said, I think memory isn't about information coming in, it's about information going out. Is memory the same?
Well, here's the thing, is when I talk about learning, and people try to peg me as a memory expert, which is really not accurate. I am an expert in high performance learning. I teach people how to learn anything and everything faster and easier and remember it for as long as they want. Sometimes you only need to remember stuff temporarily, maybe just long enough to pass the test for a required course that you really don't want to deal with later on in life. So sometimes, some of the memory stuff is throwaway. But the learning process is not about putting information in. And memory is the last part of the learning process. When you put the information in, that's only a fraction of what needs to happen. Then you've got to be able to get it out in order to use it. That's why we have tests. That's where practical application comes from. So, and I really get into a lot more detail about this, but it is in getting the information out of you where the learning takes place. So, for example, one of the things that I teach students is if you're going to read a textbook, you read the textbook once with my technique. You don't read it like the way you read a novel, where you start at the first page and you read straight through, and then you underline and highlight. That doesn't work. And you got to do it over and over and over again and hope some of it sticks. The spaghetti on the wall technique. That just doesn't work. I teach you how to break the chapter down into little chunks, and you're going to give yourself multiple previews. And then when you do finally read the chapter, after 3 or 4 previews using my system, then you take notes, you take physical handwritten notes on index cards. 3x5s are usually too small. 4x6s are usually a pretty good size, because Now, the act of writing out the information is forcing the information to go. Now, watch this. It goes in through your eye, swirls around in your head, comes out through your hand where you're moving it around. So it's a multiple sense. It's going in through your eyes, the sight, and you're thinking about it, and you're writing it out because you might need to decide which words you want to use to express. And then your hands got to move in a figure of circles and lines. And then once it's written down, then it goes back in through your eye again. So what you've got is you've got a cycle of information that's coming in and going out and then coming back in again. And when you can get the information to flow in and out of you like that, that is what is creating the neural connections in your mind, the synapses, to really be able to hold on and be able to compartmentalize and file it away in an appropriate way so you can find it when you need it.
Oh, that's brilliant. That makes so much sense. I can really see where students would just really eat up your material. And you have a new course coming out. So as we wrap up, I would love for you to share a little bit about your, Thinkific is the name of it, correct? Or the platform?
Thinkific is the platform that it's on.
Okay.
My course is I teach you how to have an incredible memory. And so if you go to anicrediblememory.com, anicrediblememory.com. Are you going to remember that? Say it with me.
It will come to me. It will come to me.
By the way, getting somebody to say it with you is a way of getting it out of them. So if you want people to remember it, you go, okay, say that back to me. You'll hear people do that in the military all the time. They'll give you a name of a target and they'll go, all right, say it back. And that's how it's getting it out of you that'll cause it to stay in there. But so anicrediblememory.com, and you'll see it's a video course. It's 32 short bite-sized videos that are anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes long that each cover a different aspect of remembering. So how to overcome forgetfulness, how to overcome absent-mindedness. Are you always losing your keys, your wallet, your eyeglasses, and then later on you have to play treasure hunt at the house and you're wasting time? Or you leave home and you forgot that important report back. It damages your credibility. People look at you with less respect. People admire and respect somebody that can remember things and facts and details and people's names. And so I have a separate chapter on names. So much of what we deal with is numerical information, house numbers, highway numbers, part numbers, invoice numbers, profit and loss information, formulas. So much of that is numerical that I have 2 chapters devoted just to numerical information, appointment times, things of that nature. Then I have a whole separate ideas on how do you remember lists of information. And I use a simple example like a grocery list, but the truth is most of the time you're going to write a grocery list down. The reason that you need this information is because sometimes after you've written the list down and you're on your way to the store, on your way there, you think of 3 more things that you need to pick up. And then you go to the store, you're on your way home and you go, I forgot to get those 3 other things. That's why all this stuff is important, because we live in a world of information overload. Those who can't keep up run the risk of being left behind. And school taught us what to learn. They didn't teach us how to learn it. That's what I do.
That's incredible. Well, I will be sure to put the anicrediblememory.com in the show notes, but also in my email. So if you're listening or watching and you are not on the email list, just text REAL to 66866. I send out an email on Monday letting you know what's coming up, and an email on Saturday summarizing the tips that you heard along with the clickable relevant resources. So this has been so good. I can't wait to practice more of all of your techniques, and I'll report back.
Wonderful. Well, maybe you'll have me back again in a little while and you can report in on some of the stuff that's been working for you.
That sounds great. Thanks, Matt. This was awesome. Woo!
My pleasure.